Hey guys, still here and welcome back to Wargame Red Dragon. Today, a 3v3, but not a tournament match. You'll be seeing quite a few tournament matches in the future as the tournament has now started, but it's not going to be just tournament matches. This is a match that was sent in by HeatFul, and he says, "Hi there, I'm a noob in Wargame. I joined 2 noobs and did my best. I did some things wrong, so I want to learn from you in this replay." I think that is always a respectable way to do business, to say, hey, look, I made some mistakes. There are some things that I can probably get better on. So what are they and how do I do that? And that's what we're here for. So let me see how I can help this guy out. And the same goes for you guys down below in the comment section. If you spot something that you think he could do better, then please let me know, or let him know rather, in the comment section, in a constructive manner, how he can do better. Just comments that say, wow, that was painful to watch, or Jesus, he's making those kinds of rookie mistakes. They're not helpful. They're not helpful to him, they're not helpful to you, they're not helpful to me, so let's try and keep it constructive. Because that way we can all get better at the game, and who knows, he might be in your team at some point. Now, he is going over to the left in Echo. If you're going to go into Echo, you're going to be facing usually quite a lot of conflict over here, so you'll have more of a supporting role. And it depends on how aggressive the Blue 4 team is that's going to come in from here. If they really want to, they can try to push across the bridges, but the bridges are not very easy to push through, because they are so easy to predict. And at the same time, you got all these low river banks, so you could use amphibious vehicles as well, as a secondary option. So you smoke up, and then you push right across the river. It is, however, a bit slower, as amphibious is about 40 kilometers an hour, whereas, of course, the road is 150. So that is quite the difference. Now, let's see what he's going with. I'm seeing a Polo HGM vehicle, another one, BVP M80A with medium veterancy. The Sava, an M84AN. I'm not quite sure where you would want to deploy that. Maybe here on the side. And then he has an M91 VHOR. Interesting choice. I personally wouldn't use a VHOR, especially not in a town, because it's so easy to get this tank in a position where it's going to get side shot. Not saying that you're going to look to get this thing side shot, but it is a very real risk. Because the tank is going to be maneuvering around the buildings, it's going to try and get into a better firing position or to fall back from one. And when it does that, it has an opportunity to, let's say, sneak between the buildings and just get side shot as it's on the way back. Now his ally is Aidu Przodu, whatever, and Coco Jumbo. Coco is going to secure this position and help left side, so for that he's bringing BVP M80A. MI2 transports. HGM and AA. Alright, that makes more sense. And he has a reconnaissance and an anti-air over there, so he knows how to cover his flank. Right, Blue 4 rushes in. Ian Smith is coming over the water with a couple of helicopters, UH-1s. And there is a big column of units which is coming in. We got Vabs on the way. There's a Tiger here. There's going to be a bit of a problem for his ally, because he only has 1 Strop 2 and the rest is all transports. So it's going to be hard for him to defeat those helicopters and at the same time try to deal with all those transports. And this is at least 2 blue players that you're looking at here. His infantry is going to get murdered. He's going to have nothing left, at which point it's going to come down to HeatFul to try and defend this area. I would drop off right about now. Because now you're more or less in... And yes, here comes the EpicPen again, if it wants to work with me. Yep, here it is. Let me pause this for a second. Here. In this position here, you have a bit of cover from the building. So where his vehicles were is where I would drop off. And then I would have my infantry try and make their way across to there. So just building hop. Sure, you got the ERC 90s over there and you got the AMX 10s. Those are going to be a problem. but at least you'll be able to do a bit more damage from the building block over there than you are from here. And as he's moving across this way, it's going to be even more risky, because these vehicles right now, the ones that I underlined, they're right now still working on the infantry. But let's assume that they're done with that very soon, as they will be, because there's just not a lot left. Then they're going to take a few shots right there, and then you lose your vehicle. And potentially all the infantry inside, so be very, very, very careful with that. He's continuing to move. He has a Sava in a position. The M84AN would be a perfect unit to use here, and so would the Vihor. See, this is not a bad setup. It's not a bad setup, but usually the enemy does not come from over here. They do not come from Elena. They come from over here in Cheriton. Cheriton's the area that they're going to get fought over. And your ally is suffering. The Wachregiment, the Motorschützen, they're all getting their asses handed to them by Chumats, by Shoyu Byuntai, ERCs, all sorts of supporting units. He's suffering. If you could relieve the pressure by killing off the AMX-10 and the ERC-90, he would be very grateful. So use your vehicle, use your M84AN, park it right about there, and you can start picking off vehicles more or less in that direction. Now we have spotted a CV, interestingly not very well hidden, and the ATGM immediately takes it out. That was one kill. Now you're pushing up with one M80A. It's a great vehicle. It has an autocannon, it has a bit of armor, but it's just the one. And you already got Chasseur moving onto the building. This is another reason why I would wanted you to take this building over here, this block. Because if the enemy is going to push in there, you're going to have a problem. Because your infantry is somewhere over there on the edge of the screen. So that means that they will not be able to stop the advance into that building. And that is really risky. Because once the chasseurs make it to these buildings here, they can start to mess with your supply lines as you bring in new units. And as you try to bring in new units, they're going to kill them off. So be very, very, very careful there. Neutralize the chasseur before they become a problem. Proletarian 90, one group panicked, one group calm, so they're more or less ready to go. The BVP M80A is trying to keep the chasseur at range, but the chasseurs are already in their position. We got a Gazelle Hot 2 over there. You do have an anti-air unit in the form of a Sava, so it won't be that much of a threat. Ah, the Vihor is on the move. I was wondering where that thing went. Proletary should have no problem killing an AMX-10 RC. Proletary currently engaged with the chasseur. Yeah, a chasseur right now, not your problem. If you are in this situation, let's see if this thing is not getting... There we go. I would say move back. Because right now you're being engaged by this guy, and this guy. If you fall back to here, to the X, you're going to put this building over here in front of you. And by doing that, you're making it more difficult to be engaged by several threats at once. You're forcing the AMX-10 RC, both that one and that one, to start moving in. And let's say that they move to maybe the position over there and the position over here. When they're there, then you're going to jump back, and then you're going to use that M90 to immediately wipe them both out. And then you're only fighting the chasseur. So I would try to even up the playing field. And don't keep fighting the chasseur, because they are not your biggest threat. It's the transports. Infantry units can only ever use 2 weapons at the same time. And that means that they're right now using their M80A and their M82A to deal with the enemy infantry. They are not using that very good anti-tank weapon. There you go. Killed off a transport. Killed off the AMX. The enemy is pushing up here with Humvees, so you're getting those knocked out. Very good. Nope, not quite. Chasseurs are down to 3. But your infantry's in a tough spot. Okay, not the right unit to use here. Senke are fantastic sniper units. They're really, really good recon. Exceptional stealth. Very hard to find these guys, but not in a town. In a town, these guys, sure, they can be effective, but they have a 1750 meter range. 1750 meters from here, I think is about to that building right there. So you can hit all the way to there, just not from here. And the Senke are not a direct weapon. They're not a unit that you put into the heat of battle. They're more of a supporting asset. A supporting act. And yeah, you just paid 30 points for an infantry unit, which is going to get killed off in about 2 shots from the AMX-10. There you go. So the Senke, not over there. I would try and put them here, for example. Because from here they can spot everything in this whole direction. So everything here is going to get detected. And that frees you up maybe the M84AN. So you can have that do a couple more offensive maneuvers against anything that happens to be moving around here. I hope you're bringing in more infantry. You're not bringing in more infantry. I'm not sure what levels of income they were using in this game mode, but considering the steady flow of blue 4, it is definitely not a no-income game. There is probably a lot of income. And I think that HeatFul got overwhelmed with managing his own units and did not bring in enough units of his own. Even though he has the points. I wouldn't be surprised if he's floating quite a few points. For those new to the game, by floating points, I mean that you have a lot of points sitting over there where you can call them in, but you're just not doing it. That's floating. It is something that I frequently am also still doing. So I'm not using the points that I have, or not as many as I should. Sometimes it is very much a conscious decision, because I don't want to bring in more units that I can actively manage. I can bring in more units, but if I'm not actively managing them, then they're only going to get killed and they're not actually helping, but they're being a detriment to my effectiveness. Whereas in other situations, I definitely should be bringing in more units. And I just get overwhelmed with the battle myself. Now the enemy is rushing this position here with M113s. This is where the M84AN would have been fantastic. Because you saw this push happening. You saw these things come over the bridge. The M84AN just moved to here. And they can take out those vehicles as they're crossing the bridge right there. So be a bit more aggressive with this tank. Because so far I have not seen any HGMs from here. Doesn't mean they're not there. But I'd rather lose one unit and kill off a couple of transports and slow down their offense than having these guys in here, these infantry units, having to do a lot more work to uproot them, and having a full health tank. And sure enough, yes, you have Gazelle Hot 2s here. That's HGM helicopters. That's dangerous. But it's not the end of the world. And hopefully the Sava is going to be able to assist, as Coco Jumbo is probably telling you. You need to get this thing out there, and you need to start taking down these helos. I am still not seeing more units coming in from HeatFul. As opposed to the other guy. Coco's here with support. Yeah, it's mostly Coco's and Prozodu's units. Alright, that's another helo downed. Very good. Humvee's rushing forward. Just looking to see what's out here. And there's not a lot out here. So that Humvee can be a serious threat to your Sava. The Dragonair even more so. Move that Sava back. Move the M84 front. An M72 Law against an M84AN is not that much of a threat. Same for the Vihor. Now I got a Polo over here. These are fairly cheap units, but in this role I would use more of a direct assault weapon. An HEGM over here is decent, but HEGMs almost have no armor. So ideally I would use something of a medium tank there, because it can support while taking some damage if it has to. Oh, that's unfortunate. The Sava did not kill the Hot 2. And the M84AN got killed off, I think, by the Hot 2. MLU flies in, looking to get the kill on the Vihor, but loses line of sight. Did not fire. Infantry. Very good. Let's see what the rest are doing. With the Wachregiment, Proletary, Mechanitschovana. One group Commandosi. I would pull these back. Commandosi are valuable. 35 points. Bring them back, heal them up, send them back out. To heal them up, just get them close to a supply vehicle. Another dangerous play over here with the Polo. Ooh, too dangerous. Assume that this whole area, starting from this building here, is locked down. If you have ATGM units sitting in this building, then they can hit, let's say, anything there. Pretty much anything that they can see. This is now a no-go for vehicles. Unless you put smoke up here. So if you have a mortar, you just draw a smoke screen over there. And that negates their ability to fire ATGMs at you. Then you can get your vehicles to maneuver a bit more freely. Podobranchi taking out some transports over here. Kill. Volkskamjäger, good luck with that. One unit that I'm not seeing either party use at the moment is a mortar. Or several. Which is interesting, because normally you see mortars supporting these positions and raining down suppressive fire on enemy infantry positions, but right now they're just not there. Yeah, see, this is what I mean. The enemy is using a K1 and IKV-105s in support. The IKV-105 is a good supporting unit. It has not a lot of armor, but it does have a decently punchy gun at 16 AP. It has good accuracy, it has a good rate of fire, and it has a bit of HE power, so it can deal damage to enemy infantry units. If you compare that to a Polo, this thing cannot deal damage against enemy infantries. It has the same level of armor, but without HE, without autocannons, you're not going to be able to do any sort of damage against infantry. Sure, you outrange these guys, the IKV-105s, but it's not quite enough. And all of these vehicles here, you won't be able to do anything against, because they're probably just going to be too fast. The Polo does not fire very quickly. It does carry 18 HGMs, but the M80As, with their autocannons, they can chew through these transports very quickly. Hot 2 once again on the offensive. I would love to see some sort of AA infantry in these buildings, here, here, or here. Any of these three would be a big help. Now the scores are relatively close, 2140 versus 1615. So Red 4 definitely has not lost this battle yet. OT tabs coming in. Oh, you're dropping off your transports here. At this point you can reasonably assume that this whole forest is clear. Otherwise the enemy would still be pushing, and they're not. So in this case, I would say bring those proletari immediately to the buildings over here. If you get lucky, you can ambush anything that comes down the bridge. And otherwise, you're making sure that the enemy cannot capture these positions. And the worst thing that happens is that you're going to find nothing, which at least gives you some more information. This should not be a threat. Ooh, don't move up too far. More HGM groups joining in. Looking to kill off the VAB and the ERCs. Getting one kill on the ERC. Podobranchi are not going to win this fight. Commandosi are running in. You need to be assisting right now. Get these guys either over here or moving them to here to make sure that you support your ally. There is one very, very useful vehicle that I believe Yugoslavia gets access to. Now, I play Yugoslavia very rarely, but it's this small vehicle. I think it's in the vehicle tab, and it brings napalm rockets. It's a nifty little thing. It's not expensive, and it just drops napalm on whatever it happens to see using rocket pods. So direct line of fire, very quick, ideal for wiping out enemy units. Pretty aggressive move here with the Vihor. That was a good move. Risky, yes, and you did get punished for it by the MLU, and probably by other units if they hadn't actually killed you off already. But it was worth it, because you actually pushed them back some, and maybe allow your Commandosi allies over here a bit more time to come back from that fight. Alright, we got a Sava over here that should take out the Gazelle. Don't be running and gunning. Move from building to building. There you go. Building secure. Ooh. You used to have information about this area. You used to have that recon unit, I think, right about there at the X. Right now you don't have that. That means that if Blue 4 really wants to, they can take helos here, here, here. And they can either go for a direct assault, or they can drop off reconnaissance unit at the circled X. At which point they get information about anything you bring in, and they immediately know what to bring in to counter that unit. So ideally, if you have an empty helicopter, an empty transport, a reconnaissance unit, just have something here or here as a sort of a picket line. So that if something does try to make that long push, you at least see them coming from, well, quite literally miles and miles and miles away. Careful with that BVP M80A. You don't want that in the face of the enemy. It's a supporting unit. It's there to support the infantry. It is not there to take on tanks and other armored units. Right now, I would be opening up a second front here. Proletariat to there, to here, and then pushing on the chasseur. Not immediately wiping them out, or moving up to that building there. But at least making sure that you support your allies a bit more, and that you put some more pressure on these buildings over here. Looks like you found a vehicle, M113. Good work, that's him down. Super Etendar is coming in. That's an HGM plane, isn't it? What are you even hoping to hit? Ah, mortars are coming in. Good. Coco Jumbo is assisting with mortars. Now again, the mortars are not going to be doing immediate kills, unless you're targeting weak vehicles like the Mistrals over here. But they are very useful for softening about enemy positions and making sure that the enemy goes panicked, stunned, and that then is the opportunity for you to push in with your infantry. Resupply truck coming in. You got more units coming in. Another Vihor. That's not the right unit right now. Vihor is very expensive at 130 points. It is much, much more firepower than you need. And the infantry over here is the problem. Because they're slowly lumbering their way towards your buildings. And that's not really something that a tank can properly dislodge. You'd need more Proletary 90 for that. So I would want to see less Vihor and more Proletary. Look at that. The Proletary just wiping out these transports one at a time. But whereas the Proletary can take cover in a building, that tank cannot. So you're going to be stuck with a tank that is always struggling with lines of sight in these buildings over here. And that just cannot do very well in this scenario. And also notice what your allies are bringing in. Transports after transports after transports. Infantry, infantry, infantry. It's just a big meat grinder over here. Looks like Blue 4 also invented the use of the mortar. They're pushing their mortar fire here. Not exactly sure why, but okay. Rima, great. Well, at least it's not Commander Marines yet. This is going to turn in quite the meat grinder here. Now, a meat grinder like this is not something that is easily avoidable. I mean, it happens on this map, period. It just happens. If the enemy is devoting a lot of attention over here, however, I would also try to free up a reconnaissance unit to see exactly what they have over here. Just to make sure that I can get a bit more information. Also, why is this not captured? I only noticed this now, but let's zoom out a bit. Blue 4 has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 command zones. That's a total of 3, 6, 10, 14, 18, 22 points between 3 players. That's a lot of income. You guys have 4 plus 4 plus 3 is 11 divided over 3 players. Their income beats yours significantly. And that means that they'll be keeping your... Yeah, they're just going to keep spawning in new units. They will keep throwing more units your way. And you just don't have the numbers. You just don't have the numbers to try and take them down. And sure, in a situation like this, Blue 4 can mess up. And they can get a bit cocky and go, you know what? I have so many units, I'm just going to run right over you. And if you have a decent defense, you can actually get more points than they're getting. Which is what you see happening. Blue 4 is 2890 versus Red 4 is 3165. So yes, so far, they are holding their own. But this is going to compound. This is not something that is temporary. It's going to keep happening. And it's hard to counter. So make sure that you capture this position. Bring in a command vehicle. There it is. Coco Jumbo. Good. Maybe the position was secure and they just neutralized the CV. I don't know. Now the V-Horse fighting against AMX 10 RCs, I think. Getting a bit of return fire, but nothing serious. I've got a BOV M86 here. Yeah, in this case it's alright. There's another couple of Gazelles coming in. Another ATGM plane. More Volkskamjäger. Jesus. What's the status on those mortars? Oh, they're still alive. Those mortars should constantly be firing. And I know they're not his. They're not HeatFul. But the other guys are constantly keeping up mortar barrages, making sure that the infantry here gets weakened. There we go. The mortars are back online. They're now pushing back onto the Volkskamjäger. Recon squad. There you go. That recon helicopter probably was starting to probe this position and got shot down by the Sava. That should dissuade them for a while. But the question is, how long is that going to stay true? Because if they fly around wider, you won't be able to tackle them. Not with that Sava unit, anyway. Jeez, look at all this infantry here. Your ally continues to bring in more units. There we go. There's your infantry. Good position here for the Bretska. Because they have that 1400 meter range on the anti-tank weapon. Not a big fan of the drug here. These guys are ATGM units with a range of 2450. Yes, they are dirt cheap. They're only 15 points. These guys are 20 points. And they can hold their own against an infantry fight. These guys can't. Anything that fires at them is pretty much likely to instantly kill them. And these are definitely not as easy to kill. So in this case, I would say don't bring in more of your HGM units, but bring in more of the Bretska. And make sure you put those over here or anywhere else in a supporting position. So that the Commandosi are not going to get ambushed by transports. And the same thing from here. I think we're going to get more proletary from these transports. Drop off. Yeah, proletary 90. Volkskamjäger. Ooh. Kyoroku WAPC. If you see one of these, shoot it. Especially when the infantry is nearby. Because this is a grenade launcher. And it kills infantry very, very quickly. So if you have any kind of a longer range weapon, like a VHOR, just drive out and kill that vehicle. Otherwise, your infantry, even inside of buildings, is going to have a hard time. Now, Blue 4 just keeps grinding units. And they are now ahead by 500 points, Red 4. Proletariat 90 are trying to support. Just jump over, and you can start to take out these vehicles. They're not doing a lot of damage from here, but you do need them gone. And look at that, there's another quad stack from Blue for arriving. There's more Vabs. Is that also Vabs? Yeah, that's also Vabs. Low rank, low veterancy, so it's not going to be a terribly big risk. These are triples, medium risk. Another Alouette, they're trying it again. Or they're covering their own flanks, whichever it is. Oh, look at that. Recon helicopter over here. Good, you're defending your flank. I really like that. Well done. Whoa. 60 Hebung. Or, well, there used to be 60 of them. This is when you throw down a mortar. This is what you start to mortar. Because this is very expensive. This is the equivalent of a pretty much high-end tank. Not a super heavy, but a higher-end tank. As this is 120 points of infantry right here. That's a big investment. Mortar the shit out of that. And it looks like Coco Jumbo is recognizing that. Airstrike. Yes. That's all the infantry gone. Well done. That's going to set Blue 4 back quite a few more points. Because now your lead is 700 points. Another quadruple group of Nana Sanshiki. So assume that there's more infantry on the way. These helicopters are getting exceptionally aggressive. The Hot 2s. Get that Vihor back into cover. As long as the unit is not blinking, it's detected. The Gazelles did their damage and are now pulling out. But the Savas says no. 1 down, 2 down. Well done. Time to assist with the planes. You're now 800 points ahead. 900 points ahead. Blue Force just throwing it right now. There's another helicopter down. Good. That's the last missile that came out of the Sava. Pull it back. Resupply it. Get this Vihor back. Too risky. Well done. Because those Volskamjägers were doing severe damage to it. Ooh, you're not a moment too soon, because those artillery units are also trying to hammer that tank. Oh, look at Leclerc. Where are you going, guy? What's your plan? Interesting. Fielare, Chasseur. There's another Hebung group come in, but already wounded. Oh, they're smoking. That's curious. So they seem to think that there's something in this forest. Yet the Hebung are not taking fire from it. Point lead decreased to about 800. Blowfor's just plowing through these buildings with mortar fire. Pretty indiscriminate at this point. Just firing at whatever building they happen to spot. And that's making it difficult for your infantry to survive here. I wonder how much infantry Blue 4 has left. I think there might not be that much. Gamma. Okay. Be careful, because those VBL Mistrals have, as the name implies, Mistrals. Yeah, VBL's falling back. The transports got killed off before they could pose a threat. You know, wiping out transports here. That's the Kyoroku, very good. This is going to at least dissuade that transport. Nice one. That's a 55-point recon unit. Really good unit. Now it's time to beat a retreat. Well done. Did your damage? Now get out. Triple Kyoroku. Interesting. More Hebung. Or Kutai. But I think it's Hebung. This Leclerc's playing a very dangerous game. 80% of the victory points. Very good. Now, to be fair, I'm not really seeing that many things that he could massively improve upon. Sure, he could have offloaded infantry a bit earlier or in slightly different positions. He could have used different units. But it's not any massive mistakes. So, HeatFul, do give yourself some credit. Nice, that's the AA gone. Now this is an opportunity right here, because this guy, the Leclerc, was more or less defended by this VLRA anti-air truck. Was defended, no longer. Now you can strike this thing. Arguably, it's not a priority. But, oh, never mind. But if you can take out a super heavy because it's undefended, then generally try to take that opportunity. Because the enemy only gets very few of these. Commandos here still pushing. Airstrike coming in from the 912s. He made it out alive. The 912 is a fantastic jet in this situation. The MiG-29 912 drops HE bombs, which then explode into napalm. And you're basically putting up a firewall says no go. You do not want to be here if you're an infantry unit. More Bretska, supporting with the OT tabs. Okay, one has to go though. He's going to wipe out your transports. In this case, you could, if you have mortars, smoke up the area here. Because then, these guys are basically out of the fight, and your vehicles can just, well, not push out, but they can engage the Dragonair, maybe the Chasseur, without the threat of getting killed off. So bring a few mortars. Yes, the Raketas! That's the one I was looking for. These could have saved you a long time ago. It's just a small vehicle and it has napalm rockets. 1400 meter range. In this case, if you're going to get 1000 meter range, you're pretty lucky. But it is a fantastic little vehicle that helps you with defeating enemy transport, or not enemy transports, enemy infantry. But transports sometimes too, because it does have a decent amount of HE. Accuracy is, well, it's not terrible. And if you can just wipe out 1 or 2 squads of infantry, then the vehicle has already returned on its investment. Now careful here, because that tank's still there. Raketas. Yes. No. There's the K1, still. And the second one. Appreciate the effort. I wouldn't have gone for it myself. Because these tanks are going to keep putting pressure on the Bretska, and there's nothing you can do to support them. See, they're taking fire. If you want to take these out, bring the M84s. But this position, I haven't seen change. So let's assume that there's still HGM units in there. And the Bretska are immediately getting hammered by what I think is a quad stack of mortars. Okay, jumping. Take out a transport. Eventually. You're never going to win this fight. There's too much fire support for the infantry and the vehicles. And since they have a lot more than you do, just set up position here. Just set up shop here, and anything that comes to you, you can then make it a fair fight. Much like I indicated here previously, where you had the proletariat over here and they were taking fire from everything else. Whereas if you pulled back a little bit, then the proletariat would have had a better fight. And the same can be said for the Bretska. 90% of points. More Kustjäger coming in. Now look at that. Coco Jumbo is getting artilleried here. So he immediately pulled the proletariat back and moved to a different building. Good move. Okay, priority target. Shirasagi. The Shirasagi happen to be landing very close to the positions where these and these mortars are firing from. It's an indicator to me that these mortars are running out of ammo, and I'm not surprised at this point. So if you drop an artillery strike over here, then you're going to be putting out 2 mortars out of the fight, and maybe you kill them. At least you kill their logistics, so they won't be able to get resupplied, and Blue 4's going to have to invest, or just go without their mortars. So return fire. I think that's one of the most important things that HeatFul can take away from this one. Bring your mortars. If you're going to a town fight, bring your mortars. Oof. This is a very brave logistics driver here. But he's also going to be very dead very soon, probably. Something I haven't also seen in this game is counter battery fire. I think that Blue 4 is moving their mortars after every salvo or 2. But still, it's worth to see if they are. So make sure that you have your own mortars or even bigger artillery and just push back against the artillery. If you see, let's see if I can backtrack them here. You can even see the small puffs of smoke coming out of the barrels. This is the position from where mortars are firing. I usually just try and zoom to it and press F2, which is the, I think, attack marker. Click there, and then you know, okay, that's where the mortars are. That's where I need to do counter battery fire. And then you have your mortars or other artillery units, preferably set up under a hotkey, so that you can immediately bring it in and start to return fire. Now these mortars over here are just standing here. You can recognize them by it being a transport with a sort of open top. That's a mortar. And that's the resupply unit. And there's another mortar over here in the shade. You need to start doing damage to these. Because those are the, I think, the 81 MSPs. So it's the same type of unit here. Same player, so very likely. This is a perfect opportunity to kill them. But then again, the game has pretty much ended at this point. They just need 70 points. Most important takeaways, I'd say, from this game. Bring mortars. Mortar, mortar, mortar. Very, very important. Don't bring as many V-Horse to the town as you did. Infantry is more important. And just keep a steady flow of units. If you're fighting in the town, it is a pretty much 100% guarantee that you're going to lose units. So make sure that you have a constant resupply. I don't mean logistics, I mean that you need more units. Now he killed 1568 points of units and lost 1225. Coco Jumbo 2768 versus 1315. And Aidu Prozodu 1683 versus 2285, so he went negative. Now overall, I don't really care too much about how many units you killed, but more about what you lost and to who. Yeah, the AMX RCs. That's what I was worried about. Early on, especially with that early transport delivery that you tried to do, the BVP M80As got killed off by the transports, or by the AMX-10 RCs. You didn't really have an answer to that. So bringing a cheap fire support unit would be ideal in this situation. The Can 1Cs, I'm not surprised, just counter battery. So, like I mentioned, try to find out from where they're firing and return fire at them. Gazelle. Yeah, those gazelles were a constant pest. Bring a bit more NTR infantry if you can. That was the MLU that killed the V-Hor. Chumats killing all sorts of transports. I think those are the ones in the building a little ways out. The building that one of your allies was initially going for at the start of the match. Morbican 1Cs. Yeah, these guys are just plowing through everything, and that's the risk of them. And then K1. Took out the tabs, took out the Bretska, where I said you don't want to be engaging them. Just push back one, or pull back one building, because this is not going to work. Raketas, OT-Tab 71s, Kustjäger. Yeah, all right. Alright, overall, I'd say you did quite well, HeatFul. Quite well indeed. As again, bring more mortars. Make sure that you use those mortars to support your own infantry or to suppress enemy infantry. Keep a constant supply of of your own infantry. and go with maybe more infantry and less of a tank unit. Because the V-Horse, yes, they were effective, but if you look at what they actually killed, Dragonair, 10 points, 10 points, Humvees, 5 to 10 points, 10 points. You're not breaking even. This, sorry, this is not taking out, this is not taking out 130 points. I'm sorry about that. My voice just completely froze over there. Let's see. More V-Horror. Yep. 55 points. 25 points, I think. 15 to 25 points. This one's getting closer to breaking even, but still not there. Whereas this is a 15-man squad. 5-point transport, 5-point transport, 10-point transport. Done. You're already making more points than you invested. Hebyung 90. That's 30 points. Boom. That's twice the value of your own unit. And the same can be said for here, BVP and MEDA. Hebyung, transport, transport, transport. Done. Really good supporting unit, this one, the MEDA. Alright, with that ends the video. Let me know if you guys have any more suggestions for HeatFul down below in the comment section. Again, constructive only, otherwise we are not really going to be having any use for it. Thank you for watching. HeatFul, keep playing, keep having fun, and keep improving. It's just a step-by-step game. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys soon for another video.